This video is proudly sponsored by Newtype. Tools, accessories, model kits, these guys have it. Hop over to newtypehq.com and use the link below to help this channel out for future builds. Hey, what's going on my dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to another exciting build from the good folks from Tamiya. So, why don't we get started with the 1/24 scale Supercar Series McLaren Senna. And without further ado, let's get to it.
Everybody move your body.
Welcome back my dudes and dudettes to another unique build from the good folks from Tamiya, and if this is your very first time onto this YouTube channel, welcome! So almost a year ago, I built my very first model car for this YouTube channel, which was the 8.6 Torino from the popular anime series Initial D. And in that time, really reflecting on that build, I actually had a lot of fun. It was a great departure from building a Gundam and a starship, or even a battleship from here and there. It was really cool to reflect on something that actually exists in real life, where you can actually reflect the inner mechanics on how a car works, how it's put together, at the same time, really admiring the engineering that was done for these unique designs. So after giving it much thought, I really wanted to build a model kit that was related to the McLaren Senna, but at that time when this game released, there was no model kits available. That would change back in late 2019, that Tamiya would pick up the license and finally give us a proper model kit of the 1/24 scale McLaren Senna. Now, I'm not much of a car guy, but I just love the overall aesthetic design of this car. It is beautiful, absolutely sculpted by an artist that absolutely loves the automotive industry. On the first side of the box, you get a nice two color representation and two different types of exhaust port. One's European, one's US. We're definitely gonna rock it with a 3 version. And at the same time, you get a nice top view of the car up top, while this other side, you get a nice brief description of the inner frame as a color guide, in my opinion. It's nice to see two different types of tones of grays, browns, and metallic surfaces. Some areas are gold, some areas are orange. I just love the color separation of this model, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now, enough about that, what's inside the box? As always, you are happily greeted with the instruction manual. You had a nice wide shot of the McLaren looking absolutely awesome, with the instruction manual looking slightly different from your traditional Gundam manual, which is not a big problem. But shockingly enough, the wonderful thing I like about this instruction manual is the recommendation tabs on tools you would need to complete this build. Everything down to snippers, glues, tweezers, scissors, even X-Acto blade or putty to make this model kit look absolutely stellar like you would see in the box art. But this is where the model kit becomes less fun, because every little runner you see here, every little door, every little vent, every little exhaust part, everything that is tiny is going to require some form of gluing. Now, this is a great departure from a Tamiya, Hasegawa, Kotobukia kit. You know, this is a different type of building a model kit, which is great because it actually changes your brain chemistry on how you used to build model kits. So this is a great change of pace. This is what I grew up with as a kid, so it's not necessarily bad. Now, let's talk about the one part that's really important: how we're going to paint this model kit if there's no form of reference in there. And thanks to this actually background information, you actually get two options on how you want to paint this model kit. Everything down to the red pill or the blue pill. Now, personally, I love like this reddish orange. It looks absolutely beautiful, but I'm kind of leaning towards the blue. Definitely give me a nice sonic vibe to it. I love that little attention to detail. And at the very bottom, you get tons of reference of details for the rims, side panels, bumpers, interior, as well as areas around the steering column. I love that. And it's definitely really helpful if you're doing some custom painting for the model kit this sophisticated. So enough about that. Let's talk about the most important part of the model kit, the runners. As for the first runners, you're going to get a handful of black runners that are intended for everything for this model kit, down to the inner frame, exterior frame, headlights, bumpers, everything in this model kit is pretty much going to be represented into these black runners. But things get a little bit more complicated with the white runners. Now, everything you see here is pretty much representative of what this model kit's all about. But the reason why they're painted white is because that actually encourages you to do some custom painting, which is definitely required to make it look like how it's seen on the box art. But for someone that hasn't done a build like this ever in their lifetime building a model kit, this can be a bit overwhelming, but it shouldn't be that difficult. Next setup, we're gonna get a handful of rubber parts that are gonna be for the tires for this model kit, as well as a whole slew of runners for the actual windows, headlights, brake lights, and windows for this model kit, followed by the inner frame to put all the pieces together when it's fully done, which is great. It's definitely a little bit on the small side, but I like the fact that there's a great deal of surface detail to make this model kit look really cool. And last and finally, we're gonna get two different types of sticker and water slide decals. Now, the stickers are gonna be for the side and rear view mirrors, while the water slide decals are gonna be for like specific key key areas like around the front part of the hood, the dashboard, the McLaren logo, the insignia parts on the tire rims, as well as little details here and there, but these are optional if you want to go the extra step. And just when this model kit keeps on getting awesomer, it gives you a nice little pamphlet called Tamiya's Tech Tips. Now, this pretty much stems to how you cut runners out, how do you apply the glue when you're putting the pieces together, while at the same time giving you a brief tutorial on how to paint little small pieces like with little toothpicks or fine tip brushes. This is absolutely wonderful for someone that's actually delving into the very first experience of building a model car. I love that a Tamiya is going the extra step. So as always, before I get started building this model kit, I want to take a step back and evaluate which areas I want to tackle first. So since this is drastically different from a Gundam model kit where I tackle the head, legs, and feet, and etc., I'm going to be focusing on the inner frame first and then work my way up to the main body. Now the reason why I want to tackle the inner frame first is because there are tons of tiny little runners that require a lot of tender loving care and putting them into the right places. At the same time, this is a great introduction for me to actually get comfortable of gluing pieces together permanently so that way I can work my way up to the actual final part of building the small kit when it's fully assembled. So this is a great starting point.
just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion. Loving this devotion. Live it up, live it up, live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up, switch it up, switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly just in time, know the right way to go. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of baby, you got nothing to lose. Give me that, give me that, give me that good reaction. Gonna make it right, little like an offer I can't refuse. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe, you're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Ooh, that sugar sweet, ooh, that sugar ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Ooh, that sugar, just my kind of heat. Ooh, that sugar, sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Ooh, that sugar.
after spending 3 days of thoroughly enjoying the inner frame, it's now time to tackle the main body. Now the main body is going to be pretty much comprised between one particular metallic paint, and that's going to be like a magnesium or a burnt iron. I don't want it to be too bright, I just want it to be noticeable where it actually creates a nice like carbon fiber texture, if that makes any sense. Now for the actual main body itself, when it's fully done, I want to make sure that there's enough cavity space in the main front compartment, so if any electrical wire gets damaged or an LED starts to flicker or starts to go out, I can actually get to the electrical wire very quickly in the main front part. Now for the main two different types of color schemes, I'm going to be rocking with two particular color schemes of light grays, dark grays, and white. Now the front part underneath it is going to be hit up with a nice yellow orange, kind of give that nice little Gundam flair, while at the same time really emphasizing two other areas that have a small little area of blue and red. Definitely want to try to represent the Gundam community with this particular color scheme. Alright my dudes and dudettes, as this video is wrapping up, I want to share with you guys my thoughts and impressions about this model kit. So I'm going to honestly say that this was a great change of pace. Now what exactly do I mean by that? After building my very first two kit bashes, there was one thing that I was definitely missing from building other Gundam model kits, and that is like the passage of time. Now when I do a kit bash, there's tons of research that goes into it, and at the same time there's a lot of gluing, and coming back to something that strictly requires glue was actually kind of fun, because I haven't done anything quite like this since 1995, and my very first experience building a model car back then was the Back to the Future DeLorean. And then I remember recalling being very, very impatient, because there's certain areas that are very small and you need particular tools, you need the right kind of glue or the right kind of lubricant that goes on the actual tire so that way they can move forward and backward, and at the same time you need the right kind of snippers to really work with. And as a kid I didn't have any of that, you know. My father pretty much just, here's the kit, here's an X-Acto blade, have fun, you know. The basic principles of understanding the basics weren't really there at the time. And you know, my thought process of building this model kit back then was just like building a toy, and it is kind of like that as an adult, but there's a deeper appreciation about it. I mean, when you strip the kit down and you really start to notice that this is a beast of a machine, you know, it requires 2 to 3 radiators. That means this thing requires a lot of power, and it generates a tons and tons amount of heat. And then you're really admiring the engine architectural design and how it's really designed, and then the interior, oh man, it's a love letter to car enthusiasts, and I understand that. And keep in mind, I'm not a car guy, I'm a robot guy, but I have an appreciation when it comes to that kind of level of detail, and I loved it. I love the experience of working with fine tip brushes and then contemplate with myself, do I go with a red interior or do I go for like a soft beige look? Do I add a little white trims? Do I add a little bit more silver? I mean, there's this nice juggling game of just brainstorming ideas on what will work and doesn't work interior, and then what you have interior wise can be easily represented into the finished product outside. And I love the process of that, man. It was really, really cool. And I think the reason why I like it more is because I remember as a kid building model kits not having the right kind of guidance of building it correctly, you know. My father would let us buy what we want to get with our allowance, give us an X-Acto blade, some super glue or super slow drying glue, and then some random tester paints, and then said, have at it, have fun. But the fundamentals of actually cutting the runners out, working with sandpaper, what's the difference between acrylic and lacquer base? Should we be wearing masks because he didn't tell us that as a kid? I mean, they're good memories, because what I learned there, I'm learning it now, and it just makes me even happy to build kits like this because it's a change of pace from comparing to a Gundam model. Now, this is where things get kind of difficult to make this a recommendation because it costs close to $60 to $70. And I know there's tons of people that would use that money on other kits, but here's the wonderful thing about this hobby is you're not limiting yourself to just one genre. You're understanding other facets that are in the marketplace, you know. I told myself I want to do nothing but robot kits, but in my time of making content on this channel, I find it such a refreshing feeling of trying other facets of kits in the marketplace, you know, to a fighter jet, to a starship, to a battleship, to maybe eventually down the road building a model tank, you know. And then coming back to building a model car, it's such an exhilarating experience. I mean, it's the reason why I have so much fun doing kit bashes. You know, I am trying something new and exciting, at the same time broadening out my, I guess you can say, my portfolio on trying different types of kits. And look, I understand, model cars aren't your thing, you're interested in one other type of genre, but I'm telling you, you're missing out on something really cool, and I would really recommend you try out building a model car in some time in your building career. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for likes, comments, and subscribe. If you guys can do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. Absolutely helps the channel tremendously. And as always, I will see you dudes and dudettes on the next build.